So in the previous video, we have studied several testing techniques that include guideline and standard reviews, heuristic evaluations, cognitive walkthroughs, link, sorry, think aloud evaluations. And today in this video, we are going to study the rest of the testing techniques such as usability tests, classic experiments, and the focus groups. So we begin our discussion with the usability test. So a usability test evaluates an interface under real world or under controlled conditions. Specific tasks are performed by the users and the measure of performance are taken, and the result is compared with previously defined performance goals. Evaluators are also used to gather data on problems that arise. Errors, confusions, frustrations, and complaints are then noted and later discussed with the user. It is also useful to have the user talk aloud about what he or she is doing. Failure to meet these usability design objectives will indicate the necessity to redesign the things. So, what are the advantages of this usability testing? Basically, usability tests incorporate realistic environment or realistic work environment where the tasks are performed in an actual work setting, either either by making use of a laboratory or another controlled setting. A usability test can identify some serious or recurring problems by avoiding low priority items. Similarly, the disadvantages are its most serious problem, that is, its high cost, with well established facility needed to perform the testing. To effectively perform a usability testing, it also requires a test conductor with interface expertise. A usability test also emphasizes first time or early system use, collecting little data concerning use of the system from the experienced system user. These tests are also poorly suited in order to detect problems related to consistency. So, what do we mean by performance and performance measures? Typically, a usability test collects user performance data such as task completion rates or times and error rates, etc. The performance data focuses on how well users can do their tasks. Process data is comprised of measures about what users are doing during the task completion. This can include both objective and subjective measures such as the participant's self-report, an observation of the participant's behavior, and eye movement tracking. To measure the relevant impact of each measure, researchers conducted a study consisting of 3 stages for web application. A usability test was followed by a redesign stage in which the test's findings were incorporated into a modified design. A second test plus redesign was then performed, and finally a third reusability test was run. And the result was improved recommendations based on the test performance data yielded an increase in task completion and reduction in errors, which is not surprising conclusions. Therefore, recommendations based upon both performance and process data yielded increased satisfaction with the interface. So therefore, process measure may be another useful tool for usability testing. Moving on to the next type of test, that is classic experiments. So when there are two or more design alternatives, either of which may appear possible, a classic experiment may be developed to compare them directly. Two or more prototypes are constructed and then identical in all aspects except for the design issues that could vary in type of control or wordings of an instruction and so forth. The speed and accuracy measures are then collected and user preferences are solicited. What is the advantage of this classic experimentation? The objective measures of performance and subjective measures of user satisfaction are obtained, thereby permitting a better informed selection of the best alternatives. So what is the disadvantage? It's a rigorously controlled experiment, and experimental environment is required to conduct the evaluation. The experiment conductor must have expertise in setting up, running, and analyzing the data collected. Multiple prototypes reflecting the design issues must also be created. So, general steps to be followed in order to conduct experiment are: first, state a clear and testable hypothesis. For example, a screen background color will affect the screen readability, and then specify a number of independent variables that are to be manipulated. So again, an example could be, you can give 5 screen background colors and carefully choose the measurements, that is screen reading time and reading errors, etc. Judicially select study participants and carefully or randomly assign them to the groups. Control for biasing factors. Collect the data in controlled environment and then apply the statistical methods to do the data analysis and resolve the problem that led to conducting the experiment. So this is how classic experiments are held. So moving on to focus groups. So what do we mean by focus groups? In a focus group, a small group of knowledgeable users and a moderator are brought together to discuss an interface design prototype or proposed design tasks. The discussion is loosely structured but must be focused on specific topic or topics. The advantage of this is a focus group is useful method for obtaining the initial user thoughts or try out ideas. They are easy to set up and run and have a fairly low cost. The disadvantages are the focus groups do require an experienced moderator. Also, they are not useful for establishing how people really work and what kinds of usability problems people have. What are the guidelines? How do we perform this focus group tests? A focus group should be restricted in size with consisting of only 8 to 12 people. An individual session should consume no more than 90 to 120 minutes. and then recording of the session should be done either by video or audio that will permit later detailed analysis of the participants' comments, and then the recording can also be played for the entire design team, again providing insights into what the user's needs basically are. So then, which testing method has to be chosen? So therefore, we will now discuss choosing a testing method. Using cognitive walkthroughs early in the development process permits the identification and correction of more serious problems. Later, when a functioning prototype is available, the remaining problems can be identified using a think aloud evaluation. So, first, let us look into the difference between usability test and heuristic evaluation. So, heuristic evaluations are useful in identifying many usability problems and should be part of the testing scenario. Performing this kind of evaluation before beginning an actual usability test with the user will eliminate a number of design problems. A study done by Fu addresses three levels of human behaviors identified, such as leading to interface usability challenges, are skill based, rule based, and knowledge based. The skill based level of success depends upon the user's ability to recognize and quickly react to the right signals presented by the interface. Non critical elements such as flashing or animation can grab the attention at the wrong time and pull the user's focus from the task at hand. The result may be errors or degraded speed. The rule based level of success depends upon the user's ability to perceive and respond to the signals that are associated with the ongoing task. People stumble when they fail to complete a step or steps because the system's state or next step information was not noticeable or clearly presented. The knowledge based level of success depends upon the user's ability to develop a right mental model for the system. Users' actions based upon an incorrect or incomplete mental model may cause the wrong action, resulting in an error. So, heuristic reviews should be applied first or early in the design process to identify the skill or rule based problems. After these problems are resolved, the usability testing can be focused on the higher level, that is, the knowledge based interaction issues, without distraction of skills or rule based problems. Thus, most usability experts now recommend that these two methods always be included in the testing process. Essentially, heuristic reviews exploit our understanding of human perception and cognition. The design or presentation details that may impede or facilitate a person's progress in the performance task are most easily identified. So, a usability test identifies the gaps that may exist between the system's conceptual model and the user's mental model in the context of how the system is being used. So, what is concurrent versus retrospective user comments? There are two ways of test participants to verbalize their observations and problems to the tester. One is concurrent or as they happen, and the other one is retrospective, that is, after the test session is over, the user can give his represent his observations. In retrospective conditions, participants show a video of the testing session to remind them of the issues they may have confronted. Concurrent reporting may have two problems. First, it forces people to closely examine a certain portion of the interface, which could impact their performance on the following tasks. Second, immediate reporting may contaminate performance data like time to complete a task. So, three studies by different researchers found no performance and preference differences between these methods. However, researchers performing the first two studies concluded that retrospective comments are more useful because they were more explanatory than concurrent comments. Concurrent reporting was most valuable for simple issues such as link naming, instruction wording, error messages, and so on. But whereas retrospective reporting seems to be best for better understanding more complex problems. The users wherein the users were be unable to articulate why they were having problems while trying to resolve them. So a researcher called as Belly concludes from the studies that there is no difference in majority of comments made concurrently or those made retrospectively. So collecting concurrent comments does not appear to slow down the test participants or cause them to make more errors. Concurrent comments are better for certain design problems such as link naming, whereas retrospective comments are more valuable for helping to resolve complex usability issues.